All right, welcome back to the episode. Uh, Now we're gonna have a discussion that I teased in the last episode that Matthew featured in. We kind of got into it. We're gonna discuss the
Oh
greatest
yeah,
team
yeah.
that ever exists. I think it's the Warriors. Specifically 18-19, the one that lost in the finals. But when they were fully healthy, I'm talking and taking into account them. All right, and Matthew thinks that it's Jordan, the Jordan Bulls, 95-96 Bulls. So we have Mitra here, to be, impartial for the third viewpoint. So
I'll be the referee.
let's
My bad.
let's talk the teams for a bit. I think that honestly, I think I've said this before. I think the ultimate trump card when they had him was DeMarcus Cousins and Kevin Durant. 'Cause I remember
But they
watching
didn't.
this is important to note. But I remember watching whenever the Rockets were playing them in like November or December or something like that when they had DeMarcus Cousins, but KD was out. I was watching. I was like, this is gonna be so interesting to see. How do the Rockets stop this? Because they got Clint Capella, and it's like no KD. It's like it should be an interesting game. It's just so depressing to watch it because you know what they did? They just gave KD's touches to DeMarcus Cousins, and he ended up scoring like 40 points. It's like they literally have every person in their starting five can go up for at least 20 points. And Curry and Durant always go for 30. Like, yeah, Matthew, I see you. But it's like, defensively, the Bulls are probably the best team to take them on. But the fact of the matter is the shooting is just going to absolutely kill them. And I think that I respect that. I know Jordan would take it personal because he takes damn near everything personal. Like if a mailman looks at him, gives him the wrong, mail, he'll take it personal. He'll drop 50 on the mailman's wife. It's like I feel like the Warriors just have too much that even he can't overcome. All right, so Matthew, what do you have to say?
I feel like if you're kind of putting it in that kind of aspect and argument, that's like stating like a team that like that's like stating the 20 I think it was the 2013-14 Lakers. That team would have been one of the best teams ever, but since they just didn't work, Kobe got injured, Dwight Howard got injured, Steve Nash was injured. I feel like that's kind of like the argument that you're kind of using with the Warriors. Yeah, I'll get to you. But it's just like I know what you mean. Like if you put them in a vacuum and you go against the Bulls, yeah. If you put the 18-19 Warriors against the Bulls with the Marcus Cousins, they'll fucking dominate them. Yeah, that's no joke. But I feel like since they were just so injured that year and they got depleted by a Kawhi Leonard led Toronto team, I don't really see that kind of argument really going up against if we're just stating a team there in general.
All right, I take that into account. Do you want to hear a stat? The Warriors,
Yeah.
when they had their full starting five, everyone was healthy. They played 33 games, right? Because KD got injured for like 20. DeMarcus Cousins was on and off injured. But the 33 games that they had, the full starting five, do you know what the record was? 30-3. Do you know how ridiculous that is? 30-3. They had everyone fully healthy and they lost 3 games. Like that just proves who like they worked. Like it's not like saying that like the Lakers. The Lakers never worked because they were either injured or they sucked, like in Dwight Howard's case. It's like I feel like the Warriors showed that they worked and they showed that they had the chemistry and that everything we thought about this team was the legit deal. All right, Matthew, I saw you raise your hand. All right.
And just to counter on that, the Bulls during that 95-96 year, the most games they ever lost in a row was 2 throughout that year. It was only 2.
But you could also
Jordan averaging 30.6 points a game without missing a single game. That just kind of shows the definition of how much of an Iron Man he is.
But like at the same time, the Warriors in 15-16 when they won 73 games, Curry averaged 30 points as well. But he sat for the fourth quarter so many games. I see you, Mitra. But he sat for the fourth quarter in so many games.
Yeah.
That
Steve
he
Kerr
literally
set
could
him
have
off.
averaged 40, honestly. Like, and it's not even a joke. Like, he could have had 40 per game and like 10 assists. It's like that Warriors team, if they beat the Cavs, I think that looked as the greatest season.
Like
Maybe not the
Dante
greatest
said,
team.
they won each other's championships.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, they won it. The Cavs should have won 2015. The Warriors should have won 2016. But I think that the Warriors, if they get that done, I think they're looked at as the greatest season. Maybe not the greatest team, but they're definitely in the conversation like already. And this Warriors team is that team on steroids because they don't have Harrison Barnes starting, against Scottie Pippen, and they have Kevin Durant starting against Scottie Pippen. It's like, all right, Mitra, you go ahead.
So I'm gonna think about this. So you said that Nick, you said the Warriors are like the greatest team, right? That's what you believe.
Yeah.
So how does this like greatest team though like let a Houston Rockets team go #1 seed though? Like a team that only has 2 good players.
You have to remember that season they didn't have DeMarcus Cousins, and that was the season that Houston really looked like we all thought Houston was the only team that could challenge.
Wasn't Denver the number 1 seed that year?
Huh?
Wasn't Denver the number 1 seed that year?
No, it was Houston. Or was it? Oh.
No, 2019. I'm talking 2019.
Oh, 2019, yeah.
I'm not talking 2017. 2017 was like the year where it's like, or 2018 was like the year that the Rockets got the 1 seed, but they literally had the best offense in history. Like that makes sense, and the Warriors had second best in history, so it's not like they were that far behind. It's like the Spurs. You guys remember 15? If you can think back to 15-16, everyone
the Spurs won 67 games.
Yeah, everyone remembers the Warriors won 73 games. No one remembers the Spurs won 67. Like legit, the Spurs. We didn't know how great that Spurs team was, until they pushed them to the final week, until the Warriors finally clinched that 1 seed. Like that's what I mean. That's why you can't take that seriously. And they beat honestly, I think that the Rockets do get it done that year if Chris Paul is healthy. I think that is the only time that game they should have won. Did they win that?
Yeah.
No.
So Houston was up 3-2.
Yeah.
And then Chris Paul got injured, and they blew the next 2 games.
Yeah, but they still had 2 15-point leads against the Warriors. Like they
were up by the second half.
That was disappointing.
Shooting 27 threes in a row without hitting a single one, and not only that, just living and dying by the 3 kind of shows the mentality of what the Rockets were.
Exactly.
That was by far the best Rockets team. No. Okay, I'll take it back. Hakeem was good team.
Yeah.
But that was best season. Because they had that was the best record in franchise history.
Yeah, honestly, I think the best Rockets team is the one with Clyde Drexler and Hakeem. The one that was like the 6th seed and beat the Spurs, beat the Suns, beat the Jazz, and then beat the Magic.
Because
whoever was in the East Finals was like some insane team. That's the best run. But it's like I think that Rockets team had the best potential. I think that Rockets team, if they beat that Warriors, that is probably the most impressive.
Hakeem beat Shaq, by the way. That was the team that beat that
Hakeem beat Shaq, Orlando.
Yeah, but I think that if the Rockets get that W, that is the most impressive. Because let's be honest, the second we saw KD go to the Warriors, we're like, oh my god,
don't remind me, man.
Kidding me? It's like
don't remind me. That was a depressing moment, man.
I think that the Rockets team if the Rockets win that series, that's one of the greatest teams ever. But I think in terms of pure talent, the fact that they actually played well together, it wasn't like the Lakers, like both versions, like the 12 Lakers and the 04 Lakers, where they had just so much chemistry issues and there's just so much garbage going on. Like this team played well. Like they always played well. They were always destroying teams when they were fully healthy. And it's like they took a 73-win team and added Kevin Durant, who's possibly the most offensively gifted person we've ever seen. Obviously you can make an argument for other like Larry, Magic, LeBron, Michael, like his brother. He has every one of their traits. I see you, Matthew. He has every one of their traits, and he is like 7 foot tall, and it's something that Scottie and Michael have never seen. They've never seen something. It's something that the league has never seen until like he came along, and there's no guarantee that we'll see it again for a long time. And then and I'll get to you in a second. And then they added DeMarcus Cousins, who, yes, everyone's like, oh my God, he sucks balls now. No, he doesn't. He didn't suck balls back then. That's why it sucked so much that they got him, because he was still a top 5 center in the league, and he could shoot and spread the floor and be a big body in the paint. So they could still do small ball with him in there. All right, go ahead, Matthew.
But the reason why that team looks so good on paper was because you're adding DeMarcus Cousins, who they never really had an elite center. But that's why when it actually came on towards it, you had a lot of chemistry issues, like Draymond calling KD the B word, and basically, that basically made KD say, like, this isn't the team I want. This isn't, my team. This is Steph Curry's team. And KD's always had that. Like he said, when he won those 2 championships, he never felt complete. So that's why, like, you can't really say that team really had that kind of fuel and fire that they could win together. The only thing they wanted to rebellish or recreate was, do their own little last dance. But unfortunately, that didn't work.
Yeah,
Kawhi ruined that for him.
Kawhi was like, nah, that ain't happening. But, like, I feel like the Warriors team, like, yeah, they had chemistry issues, but as does every single team in history.
Just one second. That would be like Karl Malone, like beating the
Bulls
and just going like, no, that's not gonna happen.
No. Instead, he'll just.
I don't think we would have had the Last Dance show anyway. So that's the thing. If Karl Malone or any of those guys had beaten that team.
But I think that's also another argument. I think I don't know if you want to do the GOAT talk. I mean, I've always wanted to do that.
Let's do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that the talent-wise, there's nothing that the Bulls can do. Like, they've never seen anything like the Warriors. I mean, same with the Warriors. But, like, Klay Thompson.
Who has ever seen anyone like I'm sorry. Who has the Warriors ever seen someone like Jordan, though?
Yeah, but they can at least slow him down,
But
with Klay.
Yeah, slow down LeBron when they were going against him in 2018.
Yeah, like they can at least slow him down in some way, shape, or form. Like, obviously he's still Jordan. Like, no one's stopping Jordan. And give me a second, Mitra. Give me a second. Like, Klay Thompson, people forget he still can hold his own against anyone. Like, obviously he never.
Kyrie.
Like, I mean, he can still but that's Kyrie. That dude. Okay, Jordan got crossed by AI.
But it's Jordan.
Jordan got crossed by AI. Okay, and Kyrie's very, very.
That was his last year.
No, it wasn't. It was 98.
That was 98.
That was his bet. That's what some people can consider the best version of Jordan. Like, some people said that.
The best version
I don't
of Jordan
say
is 96.
I've heard that take, though. Anyhow, Mitra, go ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm thinking because, like, that Bulls team didn't, I mean, even though they had, like, Dennis Rodman and all that, they never had a true center. Like, they never had a good center. I mean, they were decent, but not great. He's all right. He's all right.
Than the Marcus. Like, okay, here's the argument.
Okay, wait. Can I say something though about Cousins though?
Go ahead.
Cousins in the Warriors, yeah, he was decent and all that, but I don't think he was great.
He was injured half the year, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was there half the year. Injury issues also was pretty bad luck for him. I mean, we got to play in the playoffs, but like DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, if you're talking about Sacramento Cousins with the Warriors,
okay,
yeah. But this was Cousins. Like, I mean, he's okay. He's not even on the team right now. That's the sad part.
Hang on, can I say something? What you guys are forgetting is that he wasn't meant to be what Sacramento had. He was just meant to space the floor and get just be a body down low. And you know what he still did? He still averaged a double-double. Like, he still had 17 and 10 as the center position. I mean, Draymond Green at this year I guess he just forgot how to shoot because he just wasn't shooting for shit. But, like, I feel like let me finish. Like, Marcus Cousins isn't meant to be what he was in Sacramento, where he puts up like 25 points, 15 boards, and 3 assists or something, and carries the team. No, that's what KD, Klay, and Curry are meant to do, and that's what he in this system, in the Curry system, which is literally what the Bulls run, the triangle system. He's even more dangerous than he was with the Kings because now you can't focus solely on the Kings, and he spaces the floor so much. Like, I think what would end up happening is they would put Rodman on Cousins and they would put Longley on Draymond, but it's like there's an issue with that because like Longley's not defending the perimeter. Like, that's just such a there's so many mismatches with the Warriors.
But I think
the fact that they had Iguodala on the bench and Eric Pascal came into his own this year, and then I don't know, they didn't have JaVale McGee. I see you, Mitra. Mitra, you'll speak in a second. But their bench was still stacked. Like, they still had Sean Livingston who can go off for 20 points off the bench.
Their bench was weak by that year.
Yeah, but they still had 3 people off the bench that they always trust. It's like they could always trust.
Who they had?
Pascal.
They had,
Pascal, and then Andre Iguodala. It's like that's pieces you can trust. And it's pieces in the most important places, which is the.
Hey, but Pascal wasn't good last year though. You're talking about this year.
He still had 7, 8, 10 points off the bench.
He was a rookie
this year. Pascal was great, but last year.
I think he was last year. People didn't notice him as much as they did this year, but he was still. He's not as good as he was this year, but he's still a good bench piece.
Well, I think this year he's a good replacement.
I never saw him get minutes.
I mean, did you watch the final? He scored like 15 points. He kept them in one of the games. He scored like 15 points in one of the games. Like,
Wait,
I think
can
it
I
was.
say something?
I think it was. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, so the Raptors series that against the Raptors when they had Cousins, right? Warriors had Cousins, and I think there were some games where KD wasn't playing and Clay wasn't playing. Don't you think at that moment DeMarcus Cousins should have stepped up and
He did.
scored
I think
wise?
what people
He
still
did, yeah,
scored
he did.
25 points. There was one of the games he scored 25 points. He was still his old self. He just didn't do it as much. You know, like he still showed flashes
Yeah,
of Sacramento Cousin. Like obviously
I see that. All right.
he wasn't like what he was like because come on, he had just recovered from a torn ACL. Like he's not.
Yeah, I got you.
But he
20
still scored
kilos.
I mean,
he still scored 20 and grabbed 10 in one of the games that Katie was out. And then there was another game where Curry went out for like 40 something points, and then he had like 15 or 16. You know, like
yeah, but I can see that this with if they have Cousins.
yeah,
Sure, they could probably I think Cousins will completely destroy the Bulls center position, definitely.
it's like
But I think Draymond on Clay, or no, sorry, not Draymond on Clay. Jordan on Clay is gonna be iffy. Even though Clay's a good defender, I don't know
I think
if Jordan.
I think what would end up happening is all right. So Curry obviously dominates Harper. Like, come on now. Like anyone who
Yeah,
says
yeah,
Harper would
yeah,
lock
I'll give
Curry, he might
Yeah.
like
Harper was a second team all defense that year.
yeah, but Curry
But
literally
Steph,
feasts on everyone. Like there's no stopping Curry. Just as there's no stopping Jordan,
If there's no stopping
can
Curry, why
slow
didn't he
down.
show up last year's finals?
They can slow him down. They can slow him down,
well,
but they can't stop him. It's the same.
Why
with
didn't he show up 2015, 2016?
He still scored 28 points, and that was considered garbage because of his field goal.
But what happened when Kevin Love was on him?
He still scored 28, like 25, 26, 28 points every game.
I'm just
People
saying,
forget that.
like, if you're gonna say if Curry's gonna get like his piece big time, if this is Curry that is really big clutch that he showed up against us in Houston, I'm just saying, like, why didn't you show up when you were against Matthew Dellavedova? Why didn't you show up?
Again, I don't know why people make that. He still was okay. He didn't look as great as he was. I mean, that was also due to the fact that he got his like leg completely broken from that slip 4. But like, I mean, Matthew remembers the picture I showed. It was just hilarious as crap in like 8th grade to look at. But
with Cleveland's mindset, they knew that they weren't going to stop Curry, but like they knew that they can. Because they I think they kind of like forced Curry to shoot a lot more, which means they had a lot of like he missed quite a bit of shots too.
Yeah, like,
I think Curry scoring 28 points is because he was basically like the number one scorer in that team, right? So he was shooting a lot.
Like, everyone, when they say Curry played garbage in the finals, they expected to say, oh my God, he only had 20 points. Like LeBron in 2011, like that's what people expected to be. He still had 28 points. It wasn't like he was an offensive liability at times, like LeBron.
To be fair, LeBron became like takeover mode, like God.
Like that's the problem with if any one of them get hot, it's over for the Bulls. Especially if it's Katie or Clay. I think Curry you can get hot at some point. But like if Clay gets hot, there's nothing that anyone could do. Like I think when he gets hot, I think he's a better shooter than Curry. Like he scored 37 in the quarter. Like come on, like that's the level that he can get to.
I understand your argument. I understand your argument and everything, but we're still talking about a Curry that we don't like. Remember, Kyrie Irving really every time he plays against Curry, you always see it. Kyrie Irving outplays Curry. Kyrie Irving teaches Curry.
Yeah, because Curry's not a great defender at all.
I know that, but I'm just saying, like every time when Curry's in the like brightest lights ever, he doesn't really get to show up as much. Yes, he did score 28 points that one game, but when the lights were the brightest, when Kyrie scored that 1-3, I never saw Curry made any single threes that he took.
I can see that. Yeah.
I feel like that's the difference between guarding Kyrie and guarding Ron Harper. It's not like he's gonna have to guard Jordan. Guarding Ron Harper or Steve Kerr, which hypothetically we're just assuming Steve Kerr could play both coach and player. Whatever scenario.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, this is a hypothetical.
I wonder what Steve Kerr thinks. Not gonna lie.
I think he would probably back the Warriors out of sheer talent, but he would not put anything against Michael's mentality. I think that's the part. I think that's probably what everyone views it.
Michael will take it personal and come back to the league.
But the fact of the matter is, like the Bulls don't like the positions that the Bulls are weakest in. The Warriors are still good in. You know, like they're like Curry. Like if Curry scores 25 points, yeah, okay, fine. But you have KD as well, and then you have Clay, and then you have Draymond, and then you have who is it? DeMarcus Cousins. Like every one of them can still score 20 points at a game. Like Draymond.
Yeah, it's to be clear. We're talking about defensive player of the year, Draymond, not this year, Draymond.
I mean, we're still talking 19 Draymond, where he scores like 10 points, has like 13
Because
blocks.
Draymond sucks this year.
Like honestly,
Draymond.
I feel like this Warriors team just has too much shooting, and in the right places too, where it's just nothing that the Bulls can do. Like I know the Bulls. What I would do if I were the Bulls is I would put Jordan on Curry, I would put Scotty on KD, and I would put Dennis on Draymond. And I would just trust that Luke Longley can stop DeMarcus Cousins because if DeMarcus Cousins starts getting.
But DeMarcus didn't really show up when he could have in the playoffs, other than a couple of games.
Like,
you know, when he was.
He still showed flashes that he could do it, and if he does that in the series where
flashes, it's not going to be a whole series that he could carry.
Yeah, I hope he comes back.
And that's not just the issue with him. The issue with him is the fact that he spaces the floor. Like you can't sag off him. Like you can't sag off DeMarcus Cousins. Like that's stupid. That's suicide. Like you're gonna get burnt.
But look what they did whenever they guarded him in the finals. They just made sure that he wouldn't get his touches as much. They would focus on hurting all the other players until enough tension was focused on DeMarcus Cousins whenever the players went down.
But that's the issue, though. You still is a threat to score 20 points a game and still hit threes. Like, you can't sag off him. Like, obviously, you'd rather sag off Draymond Green and DeMarcus Cousins than, like, KD, Clay, and Curry. Like, that's
I take Draymond. I would sag off of Draymond Green and Danny Green.
The problem is DeMarcus can still defend maybe not defend well the perimeter, but he can at least defend the perimeter. But he doesn't have to in this scenario. He just has to spread the floor. Like that was the issue with the Warriors is the fact that DeMarcus might average like 10, 15 points a game, but like he's still a threat offensively. Like you can't just leave him like you could with JaVale McGee at the 3-point line. Like that was the issue, always been the issue with the Warriors. They never had a big person that could shoot, and then they finally get it. You know, it's like if they get Giannis without giving up Draymond Green, and they have everyone else. You know, like they literally have everything that they could possibly need. It's like that's the problem. With the team, is the fact that they're so good at every position shooting that there's nothing the Bulls can do at every position. Like they have KD, something that the Warriors have never, or that the Bulls have never seen, and are probably never likely to see anytime soon. They have Curry, who has the shooting that no one has ever seen, who literally changed the league, and then they have Clay, who's possibly the hottest streaky shooter in the history of the league. And when he gets going, there's no one in front of him that I would trust to stop him.
Yeah.
You know, like not even Kawhi.
And Draymond can also stretch the floor like Dennis Rodman. Draymond's a good defender and he can stretch the floor.
I think what would happen, position by position, here's how I would expect this to go. All right. Curry dominates the Ron Harper matchup as maybe not like 45 points a game, but like at least 25 every game, or at least 20 every game. Like I expect that.
Jordan dominates Clay.
But like Clay still holds his own. I think that's the key. I think Clay still holds his own. I think that's. I think Clay would.
I think it will tire Clay out for the offensive end as well.
You forget that Clay's not a dribbler.
Hey, but think about it though. They had Gary Payton on Jordan, and he still destroyed him.
Yeah, his issue wasn't.
You think Clay can hold that?
But like I feel like Clay can still hold his own, and it's not like Jordan can sack off him too. You know,
he can hold his own and let Jordan have 32 pieces on him.
Yeah, he's still like that's still holding his own. Like, he can still hold his own till like the Warriors can get to a reasonable lead. And he's not like he's a huge threat. He's not like he's handling the ball all the time. He's literally just catch the ball and shoot. Like Game 6 Clay, there's no one that would stop that. If he gets into that form, it's over. Like it really is over. Especially when you factor in that they have KD, who's something that Scotty has never seen before, who's as quick as Scotty, who's as lanky as Scotty.
Let's think about it. Hold on, let's think about it. It's an accomplishment against the Jordan Bull teams to take them to 7. That's an accomplishment against some teams. So the fact
the greatest player of all time.
The Warriors never really seen something of a Jordan or even a Scottie Pippen.
What about LeBron? That's literally something that's on the level. Okay, well, a little bit low. I think that I'll say this really quick.
Even close.
I'll say this really quick. I think that Jordan is just about the GOAT right now. If LeBron gets to 5, I bump him up. If he gets a 4th ring, he's like right there, like take your pick, whatever. If he gets 5, he's above Jordan. And if he gets 6, he's way above Jordan because he would have the same total.
But how
Yeah.
many did he lose?
I'll explain that. All right. We'll explain that in a second. All right. But, like, I think that, KD is something that the Warriors have or the Bulls have never seen. And honestly, he's the ultimate trump card in this scenario because there's nothing that you can do to stop him. Because there's nothing that you've ever seen.
Well.
Huh? Like, it goes the same with, like you would trust Scotty to, slow him down. But, like, when KD's going, there's no one in front of him that can stop him. Because no one's guarding him at 7 feet tall. There's no 7 feet tall defender that can stay in front of him, and there's no 6'5" defender that can contest it. Like, the only ones that you can trust are Kawhi and Jimmy Butler in today, and they're looked at as like all-time defenders.
But I think that's where you're messing up, man. That you don't understand that Scotty was he was a hell of a defender for his time.
I know he's a hell of a defender, but that's the issue. He's never seen something like there's a difference between guarding Magic and guarding KD, because KD is literally what Magic is, but with shooting on steroids. Like, that's literally
but that's not Scott. Remember when the Bulls were playing against the Lakers and Magic was holding his own and he was just killing them. But once they put Scottie Pippen on him, a young Scottie Pippen, the first time into their finals, Scottie Pippen, he locked his ass down.
But that's the issue. There's a way difference because KD is as fast as Scottie, maybe not as strong as Magic was, and not as good in the post, but like he has everything.
But can we also talk about era that they're playing in?
Like, you have to remember that KD's more than just a straight up dribbler and stuff like that. He's an all-time shooter. Like, he's a Larry Bird shooter.
But you have to remember, Scotty was playing in an era where like you could push somebody and that would not even be in a technical foul.
That's true. Yeah,
I think people are acting as if the hand checking. I think the 2000s rule is perfect because you could still play. If this is 90s, you cannot man-on-man the Warriors. Like, that's just stupid. That's suicide.
Hey, but
like,
do you remember
them or man-on-man, which is suicide? Like.
But do you remember do you remember the NBA? Sorry, I just want to say one thing. But do you remember like the NBA, the Detroit Pistons though? This is how soft the league is, but like. Or the league was, or no, how everyone like got away with a lot of these calls, because remember Detroit Pistons though, Isaiah Thomas, they completely like, they did illegal stuff that would have been illegal like today, and they like, I'm just saying that it's a different. Matthew's right, like it's a different like time kind of thing,
But you guys are acting as if like. Physical play is enough. When you're saying physical play is enough to stop the Warriors, then you darn screwed up because they have everything else on steroids. Like, this is the greatest offense ever by a good margin. Like,
yeah, but there's a reason.
And then they also have a bench.
They didn't win because of injuries. They didn't win because they just didn't have the right pieces.
No, but like they would have won it. Like, no one is arguing that they would have won if they were healthy. Like, everyone agrees that they would have easily won. Like, maybe. This might have been a gentleman's sweep.
But they didn't. That's the reason why you can't put them on top of the greatest. They're one of the greatest teams that never happened, but they never happened. That's why you can't put them on the greatest team because they just didn't win it.
At the same time, we saw in the finals what KD in the 5-10 minutes he played, he scored like 15 points on Kawhi Leonard. With Kawhi Leonard, literally, I was watching this again. He literally had his hand. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is what we were fearing." And it was literally by pure luck that he got his ACL torn.
Yeah, but KD wasn't there.
But no, when he was, though, he was everything. He made this team so much more dangerous. I think that.
But he tore his Achilles. It's just how it is. It is what it is.
Matthew, my God, you're arguing for a team that, yes, the Bulls happened to do it, but like at the same time, they've never played something like this. I mean, obviously the Warriors have never played something like the Bulls. Well, I mean, I guess you could make the argument because big ball, they ushered in the era of small ball. But like, you know what I mean? Like, when this team is fully healthy, like what they showed when they were playing, all right, this team wipes the Bulls off the map. Okay, I think 6 games at most, and that's just because of Jordan. That's genuinely just because of Jordan. Like, this team is just so much better.
I can't do that because they weren't successful. Are you really thinking? They were injured to griddles. If you're trying to put the 16-17 Warriors, I'll say, you know what? Yeah, they can take the Bulls to 7, but that's about it.
Okay, what about 18?
Harden staring down AD.
Yeah, but like, I feel like look, okay, we're talking fully healthy, okay, fully healthy. Like, we're talking the fully healthy 19 Warriors against the fully healthy Bulls. All right, and I think that the Bulls, I respect the hell out of Michael Jordan. I think he's the GOAT right now. But I think that there's nothing that they can do.
if you're stating fully healthy, that's stating a lot of things for a lot of
No,
other
it's
teams
not,
to
because
step
they played a
forward and
lot
play
of the
them.
games fully. It's not like hypothetical with the Lakers, like the 12 Lakers, like because we never saw them fully healthy for like 10 games. But and they still like.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like that's
This
like
is a
us
fully
saying,
healthy
like
Warriors team that
hypothetically,
played
those
at
12 Lakers
least.
could dominate.
This is a fully healthy Warriors team that played at least 40 games. There's a big difference, like between 10 games and 40 games, because we saw everything that they were, including on Christmas Day. So I'm taking that into
But
account.
they were way still injured, man. They didn't even win the championship. I'm just saying, if you're gonna pick a team, you have to pick a team that rode down and really dominated in their own era. The Bulls did it 2 times.
They did not dominate their own era, man.
I think
they didn't.
This is a hot take, but I think that Rockets team with Drexler gives the Bulls the run for their money. Okay, with Jordan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because
I think so too.
Michael's not willing. Like Michael literally said in an interview, "I am not. The only player that I would never try and dunk on was Hakeem. That's the level of respect he had for him. He said he would not dunk on him.
I really think, well, because the Bulls, like I said before, the Bulls never had a true center, and Hakeem I think would have dominated against the team. If they had gotten Drexler earlier, like in the beginning of the era, I think it would have been.
I just want to say this as well. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but there was this was back in a while ago, but the Rockets GM of the time, he said he was considering doing a trade that would have gotten them Clyde Drexler in the 84 draft, and then he was doing a trade in 87 to get Michael Jordan. But the only thing it didn't fall through is because the guys that they were trading, they traded to someone else. So they would have had Drexler, Jordan, and Hakeem. Like, let's be honest, that is the best team ever. Like, there's no stopping.
Yeah, that would be like, unstoppable.
But I think Hakeem, I think this is a hot take. I think he's the best center ever to play in the league.
No, definitely. He's way underrated.
I think it's either him or Kareem. And I think that
they keep putting Shaq over him, man. I don't think Shaq deserves to be over him, man. They keep putting Shaq over him.
Shaq is the most dominant player to ever play in the league. Jordan is the face of the league, but Hakeem is probably the most.
I feel like Shaq was in a lucky time. If Shaq had a very young Hakeem in his era, instead of an old David Robinson and maybe a very young Tim Duncan, then I felt like Hakeem would have just stepped over his spotlight and said, no, young blood.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so speaking of that, we need to get in because we have like 6.5 minutes. Okay, so here's my thoughts, all right? I will say my thoughts. I will acknowledge whenever you speak, but I will say my thoughts first. All right, I think I've said this before. I think LeBron is by far and away the better player than Jordan, top to bottom. He's taller, he's more athletic, he's a better passer, and he can drag way more teams to the finals. Like, he dragged the Cavs to the finals. Like, how many players do you think could actually drag the Cavs to the finals? Like the year before Cavs. I think LeBron, if I were to pick a team, build around to advance past into the finals, I would pick LeBron over Jordan every single time of the week. Because there's just something about his, like people say he doesn't have championship mentality. He 100% does. Like, he's been to H3 finals. He knows what it takes to get there, and he'll do whatever it takes. I think if he, like AI, everyone always forgets AI never had a championship. Because everyone always remembers the 51-point game versus the Lakers. Everyone remembers they lost like the rest of the game.
It was 49.
Yeah, but what I mean? Like, it's looked at as the greatest. Yeah. It's looked at as the greatest performance ever against any team for one player. Like the most carried moment ever. This is the moment where it's like he carried the most weight. Because like Jordan versus 63 versus the Celtics. 63 versus Celtics is hella impressive. But like you also have to remember that the Celtics were meant to beat the Bulls. And the Bulls knew that Jordan was going to go off. Like everyone knew that Jordan could at least like do something. But like nobody one expected AI.
Anybody had Jordan had this in him. And
way,
if you were Jordan, let me speak. Would have just lost.
Let me speak really quick though.
Yeah.
Like the Lakers, do you know who they went through to get to their final? They swept the Spurs. The Spurs, like the Spurs when they still had when they had like peak Tim Duncan, or he was getting to his peak. Like they swept that Spurs team. They swept him out of the water. And they had Kobe and Shaq. They had probably the most dominant player ever in Shaq. I think he is, me personally, because I don't think he's never had an equal. I mean, there are people who gave him battles. Hakeem.
Wait, who swept the Spurs? Swept the Lakers?
No, the Lakers swept the Spurs. They hadn't lost. That was their only game they lost. And it's looked at the level of a championship, for AI, for his legacy. Like, no one remembers that. No one cares that he never had a title. Everyone always thinks he got that game against the Lakers, Like, that is his defining moment. I think LeBron's defining moment is Game 6 against the Celtics, but I think it would have been a Game 1 against the Warriors when he had like 51 points, a 51-point triple-double in the finals. I think that would have been looked at.
JR did definitely ruin that for him.
Let me speak really quick about the go. I see you, Mitra. I see you. But like, I think that game that epitomized to me like what he can do. I don't think Jordan gets that close against that team based on the scenario. I think Jordan can still score that, but I don't think he brings the team in as well as LeBron did. I would 100%. If you are picking a player to take you to the finals, I'm picking LeBron over Jordan every single time. Every single time. Because Jordan never got to the finals on a team where he was solely the guy everyone knew he was that guy. He had to have a little bit of help. Like, every person will say that they always have to have a little bit of help. LeBron in that finals run showed that it didn't freaking matter who his help was. He was getting there, He could have lost to the Pacers. He willed them to get that done. He could have lost to the Raptors, who were the 1 seed at the time. He willed them to get that done. And he definitely could have lost to the Celtics, and he willed them to get that done. And like, that's a champ. And he almost got the game from the Warriors. That is probably the most impressive in terms of like what it took to drag them to that point. Finals run I've ever seen. I think Dirk's is probably the most important finals run. I think Kawhi's is probably the greatest, in terms of just what actually occurred. But I think that people who say that LeBron is not the GOAT have an argument for that. But if you say 3-6 versus 6-0, you also have to take into account there was not one year that the Bulls were playing that you were like, okay, they could lose this game. They could lose this series. They could lose this just like that. No one ever.
That's the thing, because you weren't in that era. You never really saw,
Like, everyone knew the Jazz. And let me speak. Everyone knew the Jazz could push the Bulls to the limit, and they had the players to make it a fight. But no one was actually picking the Jazz to beat the Bulls in that time. Like, you can ask anyone from that time. No one expected that. Same with the Sonics. Yeah. Same with the Lakers. Same with the Trailblazers. Like, no one actually expected them to win. Same with, like, no one actually expected the other team to win. Like, Jordan never faced a team where he was destined to lose. LeBron had to do it 4 times. He faced the Warriors 3 times, and then the Spurs in 2007. And then, you can make an argument for the Heat Spurs, but, like, even then, that shouldn't be held accountable because, as I told Matthew before, Tim Duncan, a person who normally just shuts up and just lets his game do the talking, he's known as Mr. Fundamental for a reason. He said, no, we're going to get it done this time. And when Tim Duncan says we're going to get it done this time, he's going to get it done, I don't think that. Yeah, go say something really quick, and then I'll have to end it, and then I'll send you guys a new one.
Yeah. So if we're comparing like LeBron like by himself to like Jordan when he was by himself, LeBron, you still, even though the Raptors were number 1 seed, we all knew the Raptors were gonna choke in the playoffs.
They came out some point or another, but yeah.
They're gonna choke in the playoffs. But that season though, that conference was still weak, bro. If you look at Jordan when he was by himself, he had to face the almighty Celtics, man. Larry Bird, like I forgot. I don't know why I forgot
Kevin
the 2 other players.
Robert
Yeah,
Parrish.
Kevin McHale. Yeah, that team was insane, bro. And Jordan was.
I'm gonna have to end it real quick. I'll send you guys a new one in just a second.
Yeah.